Opening ceremony of Defense Exhibition Athens. I would kindly ask the director of the event, Mr. Barkas, to address the conference. Distinguished Minister of National Defense, esteemed ministers, esteemed chiefs of staff, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the exhibition organization company Rota SA, we would like to welcome you and to thank you warmly for your presence in the Defense Exhibition Athens 2025. This year's event constitutes one of the biggest and most important exhibitions of defense and security in Europe. DEFEA is realized under the aegis of the Ministry of National Defense in collaboration with SECPI, that is the Hellenic Defense Material Manufacturers Association, and is supported by ELEA, the Union of Greek Companies of Aerospace Security and Defense. DEFEA has become an institution, a reference point for the field. It constitutes an institution for the wider region and a pillar of international security in the defense sector. This year's event includes 436 exhibitors from 37 different countries with 18 national pavilions. And we are also welcoming international delegations and visitors from 90 countries. In the exhibition, state-of-the-art technologies and innovative systems are presented, giving the opportunity to state and military bodies, industries, and startups to develop collaborations and to exchange know-how. The fair is an international meeting point for the international defense industry, but also a very valuable tool of extroversion and development for the Greek defense industry that takes part in this event with 203 companies. We would like to thank, in particular, the Minister of National Defense, Mr. Nikolaos Dendias, and the Chief of General Staff, General Dimitrios Choubis, for the continuous support and contribution to the strengthening of the international prestige of the exhibition. Moreover, we would like to extend our warm thanks to the Ministry of Defense and to the General Staff team for their harmonious collaboration and their valuable contribution to the organization of this exhibition. We'd like to wish a fruitful participation and a pleasant stay in the hospitable city of Athens. Would kindly ask the Hellenic Defense Material Manufacturer Association, Mr. Rozolis, to address the meeting. Esteemed Minister of National Defense, esteemed ministers, Chief of General Staff, chiefs, distinguished guests, dear exhibitors. It is an honor and privilege to welcome you to the Defense Exhibition Athens of 2025, the biggest exhibition of defense and security in Southeastern Europe, that is realized and organized by Rota and SECPI, that is the Hellenic Manufacturers of Defense Material Association, and is under the aegis of the Ministry of National Defense. SECPI has a history of over 4 decades. We have members of over 150 with 16,000 employees and with an annual turnover exceeding 2 billion euros. The association, being an active member of ASD and ANDR, takes part in the building of an integrated and technologically autonomous and competitive European defense sector. It was in the difficult years of the crisis when SECPI, with a vision and a strategy, and with courage and belief in the capabilities of the national defense industry, collaborated with ROTA for the organization of DEFEA. We wanted to show that the Greek defense industry was alive and productive. Then COVID-19 broke out, and the first DEFEA of 2021 was an event where we were all wearing masks. But we didn't give up. We continued, and that is why we are here today in order to have this opening ceremony of DEFEA 2025, which is the biggest up until today. In my speech in 2023, I had wished that the Greek companies would have over 140 participations. And today I can tell you that we have over 200 companies being represented here today from 7 different countries. Ladies and gentlemen, representatives of foreign states and companies who honor us with your presence here today, we'd like to tell you that the vision, the strategy, boldness, and faith and collaboration and perseverance in difficult times constitute the recipe of success, not just for DEFEA, but also for the development of the defense industry, especially in the critical conjuncture for Greece and Europe. The recent announcement of the 12-year armament program by the Minister of National Defense, Mr. Nicholas Dendias, along with the claims of returns of over 25%, and the announcement of a Rearm Europe initiative by the European Commission mark a new era for defense autonomy and for strategic collaboration. The returns of 25% should not be perceived by you as a burden, but as an opportunity for the development of mutually beneficial collaborations that are absolutely necessary for the successful management of the big wave of programs that stem from Rearm Europe. Maybe I sound optimistic, but the future will tell. But I truly believe that very soon the European companies will no longer perceive the problem of defense contracts as such. And I also believe that the collaboration between the big producers of defense material and the smaller companies is the only solution for Europe. In this context, the SECPI plays a critical role in this whole process. We are the institutional representative of the Greek defense industry and recognized as the official interlocutor with the state for the support of the interests of the sector. And we also provide a strong network that is accessible to all interested. We are ready to make things easier for you by providing reliable bridges of communication and strategic collaboration between Greek and foreign institutions. We would kindly invite you to take part in this whole event, to exchange views, and to make the most of the opportunities presented by DEFEA in 2025. We hope that this exhibition will lead to strategic collaborations and alliances and will take us all to a future based on security and European power. In conclusion, I would like to thank the Ministry of National Defense, the Minister, the Chief of General Staff, and our foreign guests, as well as the Ministry of Civil Protection for their support, without which the exhibition could not be held. Thank you very much. We kindly ask the Minister of National Defense, Mr. Nicholas Dendias, to give a short address. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Dendias speaks in English. Dear colleagues, ministers, gentlemen and ladies, ambassadors of the friendly countries, dear guests, dear Chief of General Staff, Chiefs of General Staff, attachés at the embassies of the foreign countries, ladies and gentlemen, it is a great honor for me to welcome you today to Athens, to the heart of Eastern Mediterranean for the official opening of the International Defense Exhibition, DEFEA 2025. An exhibition of high prestige, organized under the aegis of the Ministry of National Defense. An exhibition that brings together leading bodies and businesses operating in the defense industry around the world. And this year, as it has already been said, it has the greatest participation than any other time. So I would like to thank warmly all those who take part in the exhibition. Ladies and gentlemen, the defense industry, scientific research, innovation, lie in the heart of the national defense strategy of the Hellenic Republic. And the Ministry of National Defense perceives a strengthening of the domestic defense industry and of the domestic innovation ecosystem as a lever of economic growth and technological superiority. In the context of this effort, we set two strategic targets. First, the widening of the participation of the domestic industry in the armament programs, but also the development of a serious innovation ecosystem. The decisive role in this second effort is played by the National Defense Innovation Center, ELCAC, that has closed 1 year of operation. It connects for the very first time the innovative ideas and the innovative defense ecosystem with the needs of the armed forces through the newly established Directorate of Innovation of the Armed Forces. It also connects the dynamic of the Greek research and the Greek research centers with the modern operational requirements. Already, there are in development 10 research programs, and by the end of the year, 11 more will be announced. So through ELCAC, Greece has a leading presence in the developments in different sectors. In the sector of AI, in the sector of drones, cyber businesses, and space technologies. In the spirit of the Agenda 2030, that is the biggest reform in the history of modern Greece, as the Prime Minister said, we drafted the first long-term defense armament program. It will cover a period of 12 plus 8 years. That is, there is a clear 20-year-long horizon. We have planned innovative armament programs that pertain to modern operational tools of cyber warfare, of satellite systems, and software for command and control. As I said, this has happened for the very first time, and it gives a horizon of 20 years for the businesses and those who want to invest in defense. Our main target, as I have already said, is the participation of the Greek defense industry up to 25% in the armament programs. But I would like to make something else clear. The strengthening of the power of deterrence of the country has to go hand in hand with the absolute transparency. That is, with utmost respect for the savings of the Greek people. Our objective, ladies and gentlemen, is a strategic one. It is not an opportunist one. It is the creation of a healthy, productive, and oriented to exploitation ecosystem. Not of a state network of representatives and of people who, at the end of the day, will produce negligible results and definitely lack of transparency and corruption. Corruption, ladies and gentlemen, has always been a problem for the development and the economy of any country, not just a moral problem. Corruption does not take away only resources. It does something far worse. It leads to the wrong directions, since it distorts the criterion of selection. It alienates society, the people, from the defense effort, and it discourages the healthy businesses, and especially the startups, from getting involved and investing in defense. Greece, up until 2004, spent, in today's prices, over 270 billion euros for armament. Without the optimal choices, these amount would have been sufficient and would have made Greece a superpower. For that reason, I have already announced a series of measures that promote transparency and that support the long-term armament program. But I would also like to say that the Ministry of National Defense is ready to discuss and to adopt any reasonable measure proposed by the opposition parties or by civil society organizations. Ladies and gentlemen, Greece, at the European level, takes actively part in the initiatives aiming at the strengthening of the common defense effort. We acknowledge that we live in difficult times of geopolitical instability, and we are ready to incorporate the possibilities offered by the European initiative Rearm Europe. Rearm Europe is not simply the European answer to the challenges of the present day. It is a lever of strategic autonomy and solidarity in which Greece takes part. Greece constitutes a hub of collaboration. Greece wishes to be the space where ideas meet, and DEFEA is the ideal platform for this to happen. This is how we can have exchange of know-how. This is how we strengthen common defense and collective defense. Our country, as a member of the European Union and of NATO, has always been respectful of the collective security and of the cohesion of the alliance. And the presence in the DEFEA of partners and allies and friends is a proof of a unity, of common perception and of common direction. Ladies and gentlemen, the defense expenditure have been for Greece a term for our national survival. But I dare to say, for the very first time, they are now perceived as a lever of economic growth and as a space of economic cooperation with friendly countries. The defense spending, the defense expenditure can leverage, if they are managed right, growth. They can create wealth. They can create jobs for high-skilled people, both in the armed forces and outside the armed forces. They can also leverage, and this is a main priority, an important exporting activity that will finally treat, to the extent that is possible, the problem of the current account balance. Because the balance is in deficit, and this threatens the security of Greece. And I'm sure, ladies and gentlemen, that the way that we have chosen to follow is the right one. Or better, you will allow me to say that it is the only way. Thank you very much.